If you're doing any of these things, if you're practicing any of these negative habits, they're damaging your self-esteem, they're damaging your confidence, and they're hurting you in more ways than you can imagine. Your self-esteem and level of confidence determine how you step out into the world, how you attract opportunities, how you maintain those opportunities. And so they're very important. The quality of your life will be determined very greatly by how you feel about yourself and how confident you are. And too many times we leave our self-esteem and our confidence to chance. We think, let's just see how it goes. It's kind of like a relationship where the guy tells you, let's go with the flow. Nothing good can come from going with the flow. And so self-esteem and confidence are like muscles that you have to build with consistent exercise. And that's why you need to build habits to sustain them. And if you need help with that, check out my free ebook in the description box that will help you become your most confident self in 5 days. It took me a while to realize that I was responsible for my self-esteem and I was responsible for my confidence, and I couldn't just go out into the world without taking deliberate action to ensure that I felt my best always. These are 7 toxic habits that I had to quit to heal my self-esteem. Number 1, negative self-talk. The way you speak about yourself is important. I love the samurai saying that don't speak bad about yourself, because the warrior within hears what you say and is listened by them. What other people say is bad enough, but what you say about yourself is what you truly believe about yourself, and it will become your identity if you say it long enough, if you say it enough. And the way you talk about yourself affects how you feel. If you believe that you're unworthy and that you're incapable and that you're unlovable, it's going to show in how you do everything. I love how the Bible puts it, that guard your heart, for out of it flows everything about your life. I'm paraphrasing. But the truth is, if you speak badly about yourself, you will believe negative things about yourself, and then you act out in negative ways, and then you will attract negative experiences. It's really, really important, and that's the power of affirmations, to constantly speak affirming words and positive words about yourself. And if you need help with that, check out my free ebook in the description box that will help you become your most confident self in 5 days. Don't go around saying you're stupid if you don't want to act stupid. Don't go around saying you're ugly or you're fat. Don't say things to yourself that you won't say to a friend and that you will not allow another person to say to you unchecked. Why should you be speaking to yourself like a mean girl? It's unacceptable. Another toxic habit that I had to quit to heal my self-esteem was complaining. Listening to Oprah and hearing about her gratitude practice, I understood very quickly that gratitude not only changes your external circumstances, it changes how you feel on the inside. It changes how you feel about yourself. And because of that, I understood that complaining was very detrimental to my self-esteem. It was very bad for me to complain. And I understand that sometimes, things just get uncomfortable and you want to express yourself. But like forming a habit of complaining, honestly, is terrible, because to other people, unless of course you're surrounded by other complainers, you just sound very, you can express your frustrations, but if you're just somebody who's constantly negative, constantly whining, honestly, it's going to affect how you feel about yourself, because you're going to think the whole world is rigged against you and everything is working against you, and the world is such a negative place to be in. So it's really important to constantly switch that complaining to gratitude. And my friends have noticed this, because for me, especially as somebody who struggled with depression and just feelings of despair, I'm very particular about the atmosphere I'm in. And if somebody is around me and it doesn't mean I don't let my friends air out their frustrations, but I don't let it end at frustrations being aired out. I have to find a positive way to turn that conversation around. And it doesn't mean that I invalidate my friends' feelings. It's not toxic positivity. It's just seeing a different perspective, right? Understanding that just as much as there's some bad going on, in the middle of that bad, there's good, right? If somebody's telling me how expensive food prices have gotten, I'll tell them, well, thank God we can afford to eat food, because if they're expensive and we can still afford to eat, there's a lot to be grateful for. And it's because I understand just how despair can become like an outfit that you wear. Sadness and gloom can be something that you're covered in, and it just makes you the kind of person that people don't want to be around. Another toxic habit I quit was hanging out with brutally honest people. Those people who tell you that I just say it like it is. The truth is, being brutally honest is just being brutal. People do not need to hear the whole unfiltered truth, right? You should be kind even as you're telling people the truth. You should give constructive criticism. You're dealing with human beings who have feelings, who have emotions. You cannot just go around like a bull in a china shop and destroy everything because you're trying to give constructive criticism. I thought I could handle harsh truths, as people like to say, or brutal honesty. But then I realized that I don't want it, right? Even as you're giving me the truth, I need you to be kind. Kindness is a very important quality for me to have, and also for me to experience, right? It's very important in friendships, in every relationship that I have. I need to be surrounded by kind people. And I know I can't always control who's around me, but I will not deliberately add people into my environment who say they're brutally honest. Because one thing with being with brutally honest people is that they make you start to doubt yourself, right? You're always afraid of, oh, what's this person gonna say next? And then they pollute you and make you into a brutally honest person as well, unless you're very deliberate about it. But it's really hard to not become like they are, right? Because I had a friend like that who just believed that the truth needed to be said. No matter whose feelings get hurt, they need to hear the truth and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the brutal truth. I just noticed that I became increasingly critical as well, and I was also just not very kind, right? We still need to be sensitive. Yes, people need to know the truth, and we should tell them the truth, but it doesn't need to be brutal. The truth can be delivered with kindness. And so I stopped hanging around brutally honest people. I mean, it's not like I totally ended my friendships with them. It's just that they were no longer my inner circle, and that I didn't share everything with them because I don't need you to be brutally honest. There are things I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure out my life, right? I'm not sure of what I'm doing. And honestly, if you come to me with your brutal honesty, you might kill all of my dreams before I get started. And the point is that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to do perfect things always. But I do not need somebody coming to bash me before I even take this first step forward. And so I just needed to be deliberate about my environment and who I was letting in. And as much as, yes, I don't want to be surrounded by yes men, I need people to tell me the truth. I need constructive criticism. But it can be constructive and still kind. Kindness is really important. And being surrounded by kind people has made me also a kinder person. Before I say something to somebody now, I'm more mindful. And I feel better about myself, right? Because when somebody is giving me feedback now and giving me criticism now, it's not brutal, right? I don't need to be beat down to get the truth. Suppressing painful emotions to keep the peace. Before I realized it was damaging for my self-esteem, whenever somebody hurt me, whenever they said something hurtful, did something hurtful, I just overlook it. I just bury it. I'll just suppress it because I just didn't want to confront them. I hate confrontation. I don't want to have that conversation, especially if they now decide that, oh, they didn't do anything wrong, and then it just becomes a whole thing. And now I have to apologize to them. So in the interest of keeping the peace, I would keep quiet. No matter how bad a person had hurt me, I would say nothing about it. I just move on. And eventually I realized that what that was doing was building in resentment and also making me feel bad about myself, because I would have these negative feelings about, whoever had hurt me. I would keep revisiting the offense, and I would just really feel like I was a weak person who just couldn't stand up for myself. And so I realized, you know what, I need to stop doing this, because if I had just spoken out when this person did this thing to me, it's possible that the conversation might not have gone the way I wanted it, but at least I wouldn't have this inner turmoil. I wouldn't have this mess brewing inside of me, right? I would have gotten it out. Again, I would have gotten it out in a respectful way, in a good way, not in a way that is just going to blow things up. But the dangerous thing about just suppressing emotions and piling things up is that when you do eventually speak out, because you will speak out, it's going to be an explosion. And you're going to pile all the things that they did to you 3 years ago into this one thing, right? And it's just unhealthy. It's unhealthy for you. It's unhealthy for the relationship. And I just realized it was unhealthy for me. I was letting people hurt me, and they didn't even know they hurt me. There was not even an opportunity for them to apologize, because I just decided to overlook it to keep the peace, to avoid confrontation. And so I started to address it. When somebody would hurt me, I wouldn't do it immediately, right? Because again, I'm probably upset and I'm overestimating or just exaggerating the thing that was done, because at that point I'm in my feelings, right? And so I don't handle it immediately. I don't address it immediately so that I don't end up saying something I'm going to regret. But after, this, I've given it some time, not a lot of time, just enough time for me to now be able to look at the offense and separate the offense from the person and address the offense and not make it a whole generalization. Oh, you always do this, you always do that. Right. And so now when people do something hurtful to me, I address it because I don't want to go back and think about it for the next 2 or 3 weeks and think of all the things that I should have said that I didn't say. Another toxic habit I quit to heal my self-esteem was having no boundaries. I realized the importance of boundaries because if you do not draw the line, people are going to walk all over you. And I didn't draw the line. I let people walk all over me. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. Like I said, I want to keep the peace above all else, even at my own detriment. And so because I'm a recovering people pleaser, I just felt like if you set boundaries, then you make yourself just hard to approach and you just chase people away and it's not fair. You should just be open. But the problem with having no boundaries is that people do whatever they want and then you end up hurt. As much as they should have known better than treat you the way they did, if you had set the boundary, they would have known not to do that. And so these days I'm very deliberate about my boundaries. And a lot of people feel like when you set boundaries, like you're doing too much. And I'm okay with it now. I used to be really scared about the idea that, they would think I'm doing too much. They'll think I'm proud. They'll think I'm a snob. They'll think I'm full of myself. I used to be really worried about that. And so I had no boundaries. But I realized that having no boundaries was bad for my self-esteem because people could do anything they wanted to me. They could say anything they wanted to me. They could try to approach me and engage with me in ways that they felt like. No boundaries means chaos, and I don't like chaos. And I realized, what? If I don't want all this drama in my life, if I don't want to keep having to remind people how to treat me, I need to set boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed, I need to inform people that they have crossed a boundary. Because healthy relationship, healthy self-esteem, healthy confidence, it all comes from having boundaries. It all comes from telling people that you go this far and no further. This is how I expect to be treated. If you don't treat me this way, I will reduce my engagement with you, or I will just not be in your space anymore, right? We're adults now. We're not children that are under other people's control and that other people will get to decide our lives. And having boundaries will greatly improve the quality of your life because people will know, okay, when you come here, this is how you behave, right? It's my responsibility to make sure that my heart is clean and my life is clean and my self-esteem is healthy. And if you're an enemy of my self-esteem, if you're determined to make me feel bad about myself every chance you get, no, it's not gonna happen. I used to blame myself whenever relationships changed or ended, when people who were my friends were no longer my friends, when work relationships just kind of ended, when romantic relationships went the wrong way. I used to think it was something I did, and I would bash myself for weeks on end and say, oh, if only you had done better. You always do this. You did that. You did this. You're no good. You're this. You're that. And I used to blame myself, for the end of those relationships. Like it was wholly my decision. While I'm not a saint, and I could definitely do better with maintaining and sustaining relationships, it's not my fault because some relationships are only meant to last for a season, and you can do everything right and they would still end. And sometimes I will outgrow relationships and it might feel almost like betrayal, right? For me to just not be able to align with somebody anymore. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But the relationships that are meant to last will last if you do all the right things you're supposed to do. And honestly, people who want to stay in your life, even when you do the wrong things, even when you make mistakes, if both of you work to fix it, those relationships last. And relationships change. People that you thought you were going to be friends with, somehow they become strangers. And there's almost nothing you can do about it because your lives can be pulled in 2 different directions. It's not even because you're bad people. And I just learned to be okay with relationships ending and relationships changing. And it has been game-changing for my self-esteem because I'm no longer acting like there's something wrong with me and I'm chasing people away. I'm just no good, and it's because I have commitment issues, and that's why. Yes, I'm making deliberate attempts to ensure that I nurture the relationships in my life, that I'm a better person, that I'm a better friend. But the truth is that no matter how hard I try, relationships come and go, people come and go, and it has nothing to do with me or my worth or the quality of person that I am. And just learning that and appreciating that and accepting that has changed my self-esteem. Now, the number one toxic habit that I had to quit to heal my self-esteem, and that you need to quit, is comparing my life to others on social media, comparing my life to others, period. Because it's so easy, to say, it used to be so easy for me to say that, oh, all the people that I went to school with are ahead of me now. Oh, they have all this, they have that, they have this, I don't have it yet. Until one day I realized, I just had this epiphany, and I realized that, and I just asked myself this question: out of all these people that you think are ahead of you, even on social media, but mostly for me, it was just the people that were my peers, that I thought, oh, they've done great things, they're way ahead of me. And I just asked myself one day, out of all these people that you think are ahead of you, out of all these people that you're comparing yourself with, who of them has the exact life that you want? Who is living the life that you want? Who's living a life that you think is yours? And the answer was nobody. There's not one of them whose life I want. Yes, there's some things that society says you should have a certain age that they have that I don't have, but I don't want it the way they have it. And that has liberated me. I do not compare myself to people anymore. And I know it's hard to believe because of the times that we're in, where it seems almost impossible not to be measuring yourself. But I don't compare myself to anybody anymore, because for you to be ahead of me, we have to be running the exact same race. And there's nobody else running the race that I am. I've not met a single person who has the exact same dreams and goals and desires as me. We're so different. And so because we're not going in the same direction, we're not on the same journey, you cannot possibly be ahead of me. You're running your race at your time, and I'm running my race at my time. And the only person that I'm comparing myself to is the person I used to be and the person I'm becoming. And the person I used to be would be amazed and proud of the person that I am now. And I know that I'm getting closer to the person I'm supposed to be, but it is my race. And other people can feel like comparing. They can compare me to other people. That's them. But I will not participate in that, because I know how damaging it used to be for my self-esteem, and how damaging it was on my self-esteem for me to be looking at somebody else's life and say, oh, look at her. She has everything. She has a perfect life. She has a life that I want. And now that I've stopped comparing myself, my self-esteem is healing, it's thriving. I feel good about myself. And, it makes my life so much easier, because I'm not trying to import other people's goals into my life. I'm not trying to become somebody else. I'm not trying to do what other people say I should do. I'm focusing on what's right for me, because I know that this is an individual race. This is Jola's race. Jola is running this race. There's nobody else on this track. And so nobody else can be ahead of Jola, just like nobody else can be behind Jola, because this is an individual journey. And I just, I just want to encourage you as well, right? If you're doing any of these things, if you're practicing any of these negative habits, they're damaging your self-esteem, they're damaging your confidence, and they're hurting you in more ways than you can imagine. So be like me and quit these toxic habits, because you need to heal your self-esteem, you need to heal your confidence. And if you need help with that, check out my free ebook in the description box that will help you become your most confident self in 5 days. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you next time. Bye.